We are live. Welcome everyone to the second weekly edition of Stafford in the USA Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by DraftKings, Blue Racer Production, and Jordan Stav's impressive Nike sock collection. If you could tell by the whoop whoop, we have a legend killer with us in studio today, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us live from Penny's Dog Crate, I'm pleased to welcome the founding father of the Rob Gronkowski Fan Club, the Pizza House deliverer turned financial advisor, formerly the angriest man in East Lansing, now the slightly less angry man of Royal Oak. He is the reigning champion of this fantasy football league. He's the best friend we all have named Justin. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Rolnitsky, welcome to the show today. Justin, tell the listening audience one thing about yourself.
Real quick, I want to introduce you.
Okay, fair enough, please.
Because you can't tell who that is. That angelic thing you hear was the voice of a man who went to the hospital on his 21st birthday and blew under .08. And you might know him as the ex-boyfriend of Anne Rotendahl.
Wow.
None other than David Zeman.
It's really nice, man. You hit on two really hard points. Justin, everybody knows me. Tell the listening audience one thing about yourself that no one knows.
Wow.
It's hard.
One thing about me, I have an extra penis. It's really small. It doesn't function.
So it's just like Sherman's
it's
normal.
more towards my hip, my left hip, so I kind of tucked away.
That is definitely something that no one listening knew about you. Well, much like Justin's very second small penis, it has been a wild week. East Lansing was bumping on Saturday. We ran into multiple ex-lovers that we have each either J-Roll special or made love to.
That isn't inaccurate.
That is not an inaccurate statement. Justin, besides losing to Danny Rodden and myself in cornhole over and over again, tell me your favorite and least favorite part of being in East Lansing on Saturday.
Favorite part was definitely at the game itself.
Okay.
This electric atmosphere. And we sit right by the Oregon section, and they're actually excellent guys. There's a guy behind us. I was talking the whole time, and they're all great. Just put our hands up the game. It's probably the nicest women's section that we sat next to. But the game was amazing. We almost blew it at the end. It almost gave us a heart attack, probably a couple times. But we came out with the win, and that was amazing.
I agree. Well, I think worst, at least for me, not even having there. We're out a little bit.
Our soul of our talent.
There's no doubt.
Not having him was definitely.
We replaced him with Scott and John, but it failed in comparison to what Evan brings.
Well, yeah, Scott and John. I mean, they're just kind of there.
Yeah, they don't really.
We let them join. But.
Well, we have to talk about too the football contest played in Ann Arbor on Saturday. Khaki Mania was running wild through the big house. Justin, here's an interesting statistic. So Harbaugh has won one football game for the University of Michigan football program. Bo Schembechler won 143. Lloyd Carr won 81. Brady Hoke won 18, and Rich Rod won 6. And yet somehow Harbaugh is giving the ugly girls of Ann Arbor a wet spot in their khaki underwear. What do you make of this madness happening?
First of all, khaki underwear has to be super uncomfortable.
I'm sure it is.
And thirdly, I think it's just what UM's all about. All about talk, hype, what used to be, what can happen, and we try to stay away from what is.
That's a good point.
And as far as I've been alive, that's all I've heard talk about. Oh, it could have been this. They almost wanted this happen. Oh, back then we should destroy you guys. How about right now? You haven't done much. You beat an Oregon State team that is subpar, I'd say. You lost a Utah team that actually is pretty decent. Yeah. But let's have the play speak for itself.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. What is the final score of the Michigan State game in Ann Arbor this year?
I'm gonna go Michigan State. Let's go
in the 30s.
30?
Yep.
U of M. Maybe they score a late touchdown to make it. Let's go 17.
I was going to say 30-17. We did not practice that. I swear to God. In my head, I was thinking about how you're going to answer the question. I was going to say 30-17. I honestly think that was going to be the score. We will see. If we're right, we will both earn credit for being correct. Now, regretfully, I wasn't able to watch the Lions game on Saturday. I was celebrating the new year with my Jewish family and my Goyish soon-to-be wife. Justin, what were your thoughts on the Lions game specifically?
I have a confession to make. So I watched the first half at home, and then I drove to my aunt's house for the holidays. I had dinner there.
Okay.
When we were at 21-3, and this actually, I'm texting with my uncle, who's I say big last name.
Yeah.
And I said, "You look unreal. We're going 16-0."
Wow. You just jinxed the fuck out of our Lions football team.
I mean, we had a throwing touchdown, a running touchdown,
and a defensive touchdown. Yeah,
it was so good. And of course, as you all know, we went on to give up 30 straight. 30 straight points.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
And the worst part is also, we were watching the second half at my aunt's house, and my one uncle, not the one that I texted, he was not quite orthodox, but he might as well be, was trying to get us all to like go eat and start eating instead of watching the game. There was like 3 minutes left. We're still up by a point or two, and we're all like screaming. It was like a screaming match, really obnoxious. And then when these scored to go up like 10 on us, we came over. We threw in the towels, and we were eating with a bitter taste in our mouth. That's apart from the horse radish.
Well, that's funny. I have a bitter taste in my mouth. I got the shit kicked out of me in fantasy football. Not today. Not today. No. Klein massacred my soul this week in fantasy football. Gordo and I have not probably lost that bad as co-managers. It was a wild week of fantasy football. If I would have told you that James Jones, if I told you if James Jones had one less fantasy point than Odell Beckham Jr., Des Bryant, and Demaryius Thomas combined. If I would have told you that, what would you have said to me?
100%.
You would have walked out of the room.
Like most of the things you say, I would have didn't hear you.
Tell me your 3 biggest takeaways from fantasy football week 1 season.
So definitely the first thing I noticed was the performance of tight ends across the league. I looked at a few stats here: 21 touchdowns by tight ends.
Wow.
This week, 13 by ones that were owned by people in our league, and 5 of those put up 18 points or more. Which kind of screws me over. My first pick obviously was Ron, because I thought maybe having a tight end that's that much, I guess, higher up than the other ones would give me a huge advantage. And you have guys like Eifert, Kelsey, I played against Kelsey. Kelsey was like Shannon Sharp on steroids. Although the one TD had wide open, so I'm not sure what happened there. So I don't think that, but still, Tyler Eifert like 10 receptions for 102 touchdowns. That's ridiculous. I mean, so that really hurts my team overall because I would have the thought. I agree with you on that. So that stood out for sure. Anything else? The other thing was the team names in our league, and this is horrible. I think that's last week. Horrible. But specifically, Alex. I mean, the worst part about losing Alex was every time I looked at our matchup, seeing his name Percy Witt. First of all, Percy Harvin caught like 8 balls for 80 yards and a touchdown. When I was seeing Watkins, we had 0 catches. Well, you know, Percy putting on his team. I was going to say that's when A9 or B9 on his team. C, I believe that was winning last year, possibly last 2 years. Will he listen to us talking about him right now? There's a 90% chance he won't. That's a chance he definitely won't. Okay. And then the other one that stands out is Daniel Lovely, but I can't expect otherwise as your response to me now. The Kisses movement needs to die a painful death. I have an issue with Danny Rodden. There aren't too many cooks in the kitchen. Here's why. Danny Rodden only does 2 things in the kitchen. He makes smoothies and he makes watered down Gatorade. Both of those things he can do by himself. There are not that many cooks in the kitchen. Well, first of all, I don't think it's about like his home and he hires a team. See, I wasn't clear about that. Well, do you know what it's opposite? Yeah. Okay. See, I actually did not know what it's too, and I asked him to show me a YouTube clip. I don't know from the show. Regardless. It's not clever. It's not clever. I also don't like. I get that Jordan likes corn or Jason likes corn. We've established that Jason. That's weird. And you know what, Bifo? Kickers' lives don't matter.
No one gives one fuck about a kicker.
Well, that's kind of the joke.
It's not funny.
Okay, well, the take is to say Black Lives Matter.
I'm aware.
So it's trying to say
Kickers' lives matter
to
black people. I would agree with that.
And you can make your own.
Your own observations from there.
That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. I would agree with that point. Generally, otherwise, Justin, I would just say it was a generally disappointing week. It was kind of an ugly, gritty.
Hold on. While we're on the topic of team names,
all right.
Look in the mirror.
Oh, dude, trust me.
Your team name is
it's just a name.
Last name of a player
it's
with 4 exclamation points.
Well, because it's exclamatory. Wilson.
Yeah, I think we all understand.
You understand?
But bottom line, it's literally a last name of a team.
Gordo and I pride ourselves on team names. I will say, I even wrote my own name down here. I need to look in the mirror as well. I don't think it's that good of a name. I think we can do a lot better. But generally,
proud of that. Are you proud if you're a child who just gets like average grades and becomes a truck driver? I mean,
no, I'm not
if you're proud of your team names.
No, I'm not proud. After every loss, we change our team name. I would fully expect a new team name come Thursday. You hope so? This is a call to action, managers. Do something creative with your team name. Jordan, learn about football first, and then do something creative. But everyone, please do something creative.
Jordan also, I understand kind of what you're trying to do with your name.
It's not there.
That's not a word.
It's not a word.
Desire.
Well, PSI.
I understand what PSI is, and what Empire is.
I know.
They don't mix.
They're not. You can't just put a word in another word and then pretend that it works. No, I do, man. I think it was ugly today. I mean, this was an ugly, painful week to watch. Everyone has these kind of weeks, all right? Last year, I remember, first week of the year when we were all in Vegas, we got our asses handed to us. I actually have come up with a name for these kind of weeks. They're called Seth Beifel weeks. Everyone has them. No, they're just generally crummy performances, and it's good to get your Beifel performance out of the way first. And hopefully that's done with. Everyone will respond in kind, besides you, of course, who I play in week 2.
I think you have a biased opinion a little bit. I mean, you lost, I lost. Obviously, half the team.
You're probably right. You're probably half the people of this podcast would be like on top of the world.
Every week, half the people in the league have, as you call it,
yeah, but I'm talking about studs didn't perform, right? So like key players did not perform up to their standards.
Well,
so
that's why it's a game of averages. I say you're not looking for each week. You're looking for the average.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be hit every single week for all these guys. Like your first round picks, CDs and what?
Depressed my hand listening.
Well,
all right, no more of that. We're gonna move on to a new segment today that we're calling "What's on Your Mind." Justin, you're gonna say a manager's name to me, and I'm gonna put on my prophetic hat. I'm gonna think, and I'm gonna tell you what was going through their mind as they watched fantasy football last week. Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right. Sure. Think of any manager that comes to mind. And I'll tell you what was on their mind watching football.
Let's go, Justin Sugar.
It was a scary week for Suge Daddy. Dez is gone for a while. His running backs combined for 10.1 points. Suge was thinking if it was possible to start the Seattle defense at multiple positions to give himself a chance to win next week. Sorry, Suge, love you, bud, but you're in trouble. Seattle put up like 19 or something. Well, I think they had a Lockett had a touchdown. Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice if we have 2 different.
Just continue to start Seattle across multiple positions.
Clone the defense.
There you go.
All right, let's go with Evan Goldfarb.
Evan Gold. Oh well, he was in Florida for. Why don't we pick a different manager? Let's just pick a different manager to go to. Let's just try another one.
Let's go with the worst player of the week was Seth Beifel.
Seth Beifel. Another gross week for Seth. Seth really wasn't focused on fantasy football this week. I'm going to tell you why. It's too painful to watch his team put up a week low 67 points. Instead, he was spending all night thinking about why Taco Bell hasn't written him back and honored his request to add a new item to the menu nationwide. That was, of course, the Bite Wrap Supreme. Seth, I don't know why. I tried to order it last night. They looked at me and told me to leave. But
they did try it, and I don't think anybody ordered it.
not a single person. Except mom went to Taco Bell. I was like, you know what?
It costs away some money.
All right, last one, Justin. Who should we think of? What would you like me to say about what a manager is thinking about? Who would you like to pick?
Let's go Jordan Staub.
I'll tell you, Jordan Staub started thinking about fantasy football on Thursday. Tom Brady.
I was with him.
Were you really? He put out 90s WWF wrestler bad guy moves on the Steelers. This guy is the most hated, Tom Brady, the most hated, but also like coolest, badass, screw the man fantasy football player this season. He is going to rip people's hearts out and spoon feed it to Roger Goodell.
And hopefully it'll be fun to run.
There you go. I think Stav was thinking if it was okay to borrow Sarah's U of M Tom Brady jersey to wear next Sunday, but he decided against it because he has the Stav jersey that we bought for his birthday. So
it's a starting for the bars.
That's true. Not the bars, the boards. The boards. Well, that concludes our What's on Your Mind segment. We're going to move on to another very popular segment that are
very popular after 1 week.
And it's the most highly requested segment by absolutely no one, called Guess This Number. Justin, I'm going to give you a number, and you have to guess the significance of that number. Are you ready for the number?
I don't think I can be ready to go.
The number is 31.
31 days in a month?
It's the number of my personalized semen football. No. It is an actual. It's a number that signifies something. So last week it was the number of roster moves that Jordan and I did.
Well, that's an over.
No, it wasn't over under.
Is it over?
Oh, they did at the end. Yeah. But no.
Okay.
31. Justin, what does that number signify to you?
In football, 31, the highest number of points a player will score this week.
That's not a bad guess. You are completely wrong. 31, there were 31 fantasy football quarterbacks that scored more points in week 1 than Peyton Manning.
Wow.
Is that ridiculous? Likes of Matt McGloin, who I don't think started the game. Ryan Mallett, dear friend of the pod,
who played a quarter. He literally played 1 quarter of football.
Johnny Manziel scored more points than Peyton Manning. There you go. Justin, does Peyton Manning have a game this year where he scores more than 22 fantasy football points?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
You do?
This week, it's only 1 week. I mean, everyone thinks every year the first week's a big indicator of what the whole year's going to be. But Peyton Manning is still himself. He is older. Probably last year he'll play, I would think.
Maybe.
But he will have a game where he'll be Manning.
He just goes.
He plays Oakland 2 times a year.
That's a good point.
One of those games, perhaps. I think or the Chargers just gave up 28 points, but then 2 times a year.
Yep.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spain Manning still, he'll find a way. He has his whole life. So.
All right, guys, we're going to pause for station identification. We'd also like to mention one of our many sponsors of the evening. Listeners, don't forget to try the new Del Taco beef milkshake. That's right, you heard me right. Ice cream, beef, mixed with some good whole milk. Try it now at your local Del Taco. We are back live. Justin, you know what time it is? It's time for the Zurdo meaningless roster move of the week. Now, because I am here, obviously, and I'm one of the co-managers, I gave you the honor of selecting the roster move to make fun of me for. I do not know it. Confirm to the audience, I do not know what you're going to pick. I will do my best to defend it. I don't know what words are going to come out of your mouth. It might be indefensible behavior, but I'm going to do my best to give you my argument. So, Justin, what is the Zordo meaningless roster move of the week?
So, looking at your transactions from last year, the one that stood out to me was the trade that you made me. I'm not going to say that for my one strange one, but the OBJ and Ivory for Kelvin Benjamin. Basically, you gave me, or I gave you a wide receiver, you gave me a had a receiver and a running back, but it's not the running back. Yeah. But looking through, it was not hard at all to choose an unimportant transaction. On November 5th of 2014,
Yep.
Zeman and Gordo dropped Travaris Cadet.
Oh, yeah.
Travaris is his name.
I remember him.
And picked up Scott Chandler. And FYI, that week, Scott Chandler hauled in 3 catches for 17 yards. If he did, I don't think he played that week.
I don't know if
I kind of hope he did.
just because of that.
But the big question here is, why was Travaris Cadet even on your team in the first place?
That means at some point we picked up Travaris.
Absolutely. And here's where I looked at, because I'm such a, I was doing my research. I want to hear a name I've never heard of. I want to see why you would have picked him up. Maybe get a good week.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
How did you do?
So at the date that you had picked him up, he had played in 8 NFL games that year.
That's a good sample size.
8 games, about half the season. So, so maybe there's a game he's doing well, maybe he was a good game at the past game. Up to that date, in the 8 games, he had 6 attempts. 6 rushing attempts for 18 yards in 8 games.
Well, how can you not see why we would
under an average of 1 carry per game. If you had my team for less than that week, it was in the city.
He must have taken the starting spot for someone. Or we thought he had
or Jones Gray or
I don't know, dude. Well, I can't say I'm not going to defend that behavior, but here's what I can say. Gordo and I took a flyer in round 6, I think, last year.
Take a flyer.
Every time we got to take flyers, we took a flyer on Vernon Davis early. We don't like drafting tight ends. We don't like drafting tight ends early, in spite of what I lied to Evan about and told me we were taking Brown first round. Which probably would have. We still wouldn't have won this week, but it would have helped. Nevertheless,
yes, if you would.
No, dude.
How did you lose by?
Way too, like 30,000 points. We lost by like 30 points this week. I got killed. In any event, we took a flyer on Vernon Davis early, like 6th round, because I believe he was going to go back to top 3 fantasy production. We were in Vegas week 1. I remember sitting in our bedroom together, and Vernon Davis caught 2
in you and Scott Gordon?
It was myself, Gordon, Danny Rodden, and the late Jake Feldman. And
what?
And we Vernon Davis caught 2 touchdowns.
Above the Chiefs or below the Chiefs?
It's unclear. I think it was below. He caught 2 touchdowns in week 1. We're like, dude, this is the best fucking decision we've ever made. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think literally he had games where he had no catches. He got injured. Our tight end position was a disaster last year. So until we landed on the monster that was Kobe Fleener to end our season at tight end, so it was a rotating carousel of players at that position.
Are you trying to persuade the audience that Scott Chandler was actually in?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that Scott Chandler's 17 yards was likely better than what Vernon Davis did on the sideline.
Maybe that's an indicator of why we didn't win the championship.
Speaking of not winning the championship, Justin, it is time for a new segment called Call a Manager. It's got a crazy name to it.
Real original name.
Well, we didn't think of a name, but we are going to call. We're not going to say who. When the person picks up, the audience will know who it is. He has a very distinct voice. And we're going to just have a brief interview with this person. So I'm calling him as we speak. I'm going to put him on speakerphone, and I hope
I'll look into one team specific just to kind of get the audience. I'll look and see what goes on
in the mind
after we won the
I hope he answers.
Hopefully we can hear the round. Maybe check it out.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. You've got David, Justin live, and you have the entire Fantasy Football League audience to say hello to.
Well, hello to the entire league.
We didn't say
who. For having me.
Oh, please, we're very happy to have you. We didn't say who it was, but of course, this is the very sexy voice of the future attorney, Aaron Klein. Aaron, how's life treating you this glorious Tuesday evening?
This glorious Tuesday evening is full of rain showers, but also the 36th floor in my apartment building downtown Miami is not too bad.
Kind of a dick. I'm very happy for you, but that sounds pretty awesome. Aaron, tell us a little bit about, now I mentioned earlier on the podcast that you destroyed my soul this week. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts going into week one, how your team performed.
Well, going into week one, of course, you expect your first round pick to be your bell cow, your high scorer. And fortunately, I did not need him last night, being Adrian Peterson. Yeah. Actually looked a step slow last night for my liking, but we'll see. It's his first game in a whole calendar year, so we'll see how he rebounds. But going into it, I like the Aaron Rodgers matchup. Aaron Rodgers is his normal self. I was not expecting such a big week from Chris Ivory, which is nice to see.
I don't even think Chris Ivory was expecting that kind of week from Chris Ivory.
Oh, what did you say?
I said I don't even think Chris Ivory was expecting that kind of week from Chris Ivory.
I would definitely agree with that. He looks pretty good. He looks strong, breaking tackles. Who knows? Maybe he'll have a good year.
Yeah. All right, Clyde, I have a question for you, kind of a two-parter. Number one, what is the one thing going ahead you are happiest about your team, and the one big concern you have about your team?
Well, moving forward, I guess I'm most happy with having Aaron Rodgers, having that 25 points a game, basically guaranteed, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns every week.
Even without number one.
Even without Jordy Nelson. Yeah. So it was nice to see him get James Jones involved. They picked up right where they left off. So that's probably what I'm most looking forward to. My biggest concern, I would say, is probably I actually had 2 concerns. One being T.Y. Hilton. He got banged up last week, and I really need him to perform at receiver because my receiving core is a little bit thin. And then Joey Bell is another concern. I really was going to depend on him to be my flex.
Right, but and it turns out it was awful.
He actually didn't look that terrible. It's just a Maritillo. It's just electrifying. Looks like the next Barry Sanders. So we'll see if he can get some more carries next week.
That is quite the hyperbole, Aaron Klein. You play the manager who owns Amir Abdullah this week, Jason Dovitz. Aaron, we all have there's certainly rivalry week in the season. It is not week 2, but just out of curiosity, I put you on the spot. Who is the one manager in the league that you want to beat the most, and why?
Wow, what a tough question.
Well, we don't ask easy questions on the Stafford and USA Fantasy Football Podcast.
David tried himself on it along with the team name choices he makes.
Well, I guess who I would want to beat the most would probably be Jordan Staub. One being to avoid any flack from the entire league, considering he is the butt of all jokes in this league. Two, if you look at his previous profile pictures for his team, one of them is an embarrassing photo of myself, and we talked a little bit of trash back and forth last year, so I would say he's probably number 1 on my kill list.
All right.
Very nice. Well, I don't have any more questions for myself. I was going to say I miss you, Ian.
Yeah, I miss you guys too. I will actually be back in the state of Michigan for the Michigan State game. So
awesome.
Yes, sir.
Planning to tailgate up in Ann Arbor. Awesome. So hopefully I will see you too, as well as the rest of the Michigan crew.
Sweet. Should be there.
Thanks for your time today, Aaron. Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
See ya. Solid guy.
Class act.
Love him. Very compact in stature.
He is the worst.
No, he's a good guy, and I appreciate him giving us some time today to talk to. We didn't get a chance to ask him for his thoughts on his big matchup this week against Jason, but have no fear, we will get to matchups right after we do our final segment for matchups, power ranking. So we are going to start, of course, at number 12, because why would anyone start at number 1? And we are going to run all the way up the leaderboard and sort of give you our thoughts on who had a good week, who has a bad week, and more so what their outlook is for the remainder of the fantasy season. So, Justin, I will let you go first. Give us your thoughts on the number 12 team.
Number 12, we had Justin Sugarman, Birds, Kiba. another great team name there, reference of a basketball player who was playing in Israel, I think. That's always good when it relates to football. He was not the worst team in week 1, but obviously each week you never know what can happen. So we kind of took a look at not only how they did it in week 1, but also how things look going ahead. Andrew Luck didn't look great, but obviously he's going to improve from there on out. The big thing that we noticed was Dez Bryant getting hurt. We're not sure how long ago. I think he said a month or 2.
Yeah, 8 weeks.
Huge hit. I mean, that I believe was the #1 pick.
Yeah.
That's a huge hit. And then because you picked him in the first round, you took a hit on your running backs, Gordon and Martin, who both did not look well at all the first week. And I don't know if they're going to improve a whole lot more. But only one to start, best guy out, not looking too hot for you.
Solid analysis, co-host. Number 11. You know how much I love you, homie, but watch me whip. Number 11, Justin. Brutal week 1. OBJ, I think he got like 8 targets on the day, not 4.4 points, 4 catches. He and Eli looked out of sync. You're right, dude. We basically gave you the championship last year with this guy. I know there's a lot of pride bringing back him, bringing back Brown. OBJ could be, granted it's 1 week, could be a huge bust for you. Andre Johnson, I think he'll get some more targets with T.Y. maybe for a couple of weeks, but he did not look that special. What in God's name happened to Sammy Watkins? I know he was, being shadowed by a great corner, but to get literally goose egg on the board, that's tough. You got Trey Mason coming back next week. For my own sake, I hope he's still injured and doesn't come back, and Benny Cunningham gets to start, who's on my team, Iron Zordo's team. But I think you're gonna have a tough time. I think you're gonna have a real tough time this year. So. Love you, you know that, but not such a good week for you.
I unfortunately have to agree on that, but I always like being the underdog, especially early in the game, and give you a lot of time to work out the fun. We'll go from there. Sammy Watkins, I don't know what happened, but any big concerns? I don't know if I can start for you. But anyways, number 10 in the power rankings. I have to throw it right back at you, Zordo.
Do it at me.
You guys are 0-1 as well. Let me pull up your matchup here right quick. Again, team name atrocious.
Starts at the top.
Ben knocks a few points right off the bat, but we already discussed that. The biggest thing I saw, your #1 pick, C.J. Anderson, and this could be a product of the defense they played. Baltimore did look pretty good. Payton, as we mentioned earlier, was the worst QB of the week, essentially. But C.J. Anderson did not get it done at all. Only 4.8 fantasy points. Not sure how many attempts he had, but I'm sure it wasn't good. And actually, Hillman looked like he was a better guy than him.
Yeah.
Who knows if that would continue to be a split decision there in Denver, but that could be a wrong thing to get past. However, Ingram did look real good. The passing game, he was excellent, actually. Yeah. I think Emmanuel will improve. Tate has to improve.
He literally can't not improve.
Yeah, so I think you guys should be all right. But right now, with the #1 pick looking awful.
Scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary. Speaking of scary, let's move up to our number 9 pick. Hashtag Kickers Lives and/or Black Lives Matter.
8th place, or 9th place on the last place in the league and in our heart.
I will never pick anything Seth Beifel touches to be a success. That's just a simple fact of my relationship with him. He knows that. I love Beifel, but we have this banter going back and forth in fantasy. He tries to, how much we trade. He tries to offer me the most astronomically ridiculous trades. And I take great pride in when he does miserably, and that's exactly what happened this week. He had 67.62 points this week. A disaster all around. Greg Olsen with 11 receiving yards. I don't know why anyone would choose to start the Cleveland defense. Everyone knows that nothing good ever comes out of the state of Ohio, besides Sugarman on some days. Forsett looked miserable. Denver's a great run defense, just like Baltimore's a great run defense. I'm banking on the fact that both teams just wanted to get a shitty game out of the way. But I don't see how well he's going to be this year. Keenan Allen was a rock star. Eli Manning again looked off with his receiver without Cruz. We don't know when he's going to come back. It could be tough sledding for the man who seldom people in this league don't really like that much as a manager. So
It wasn't even a joke.
no, it wasn't. It was just a true statement. I speak for the majority of the league when we agree that we hope Seth Boyle's team comes in last place. Is that a fair statement?
I want you to win the whole league to shut everybody up. How about that?
It's possible, but not this year.
And actually, no on his team that I saw Charles Johnson, who's really high on a lot of people's draft boards this year, did not look well at all. I think he had 27 yards, I believe. But that's another thing. A lot of people thought he could be a great wide receiver 3, and he did.
Bridgewater looked gross yesterday.
Yeah, the whole team looked rough, even AP, as we said, or as Aaron Klein said.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to number 8 in power rankings, we have Alvin Smoke on Sherman. Points-wise, actually wasn't too bad. He had 89 plus points. Probably somewhere in the middle or maybe a little higher in the middle, but did lose. Alshon Jeffrey's a little banged up. Again, we don't know if he's going to be 100% all year. His running backs right now are kind of rough with D'Angelo Williams and Rashad Jennings. You know, they both did pretty well in the first week. But the big thing with him is he's Le'Veon coming back in a couple weeks, and he's like Evans as well, who will come back. I'm not sure when, but when he gets those guys back, it might be an improved roster at that point. But who knows if they're even going to be healthy the rest of the year. Some question marks there. A rough start for him, but I think there's enough pieces that he's be in the hunt for a playoff spot.
All solid analysis on your part. Number 7 on our list, corn on the cob, Jason Dovitz. Dovitz, we liked your team, man. I mean, I think you got some pieces to make a run. Gore certainly did not look fresh at all. It's probably because he's very old. Andre Ellington, we've lost him for a couple weeks. You have stud receivers. I mean, you're going to be carried each week on the productivity of Fox, Antonio Brown, and Cobb. It's great to see Cobb on 5 targets, putting up 9.8 fantasy points. You'd have to assume as the targets increase, so too will those points. We were Tanny owners last year. You kind of live and die by his touchdowns. So you know he's only going to put the ball up 20 times a game, 25 times a game. It's whether he scores those touchdowns. On those weeks where he has those 3 touchdown performances, you're going to get some great points. He can run the ball a little bit, but you can't rely on him certainly to be an elite quarterback each week.
I repeat a quote: when he puts up 3 touchdowns, he'll get a lot of points off that.
That's some deep analysis, ladies and gentlemen, from David Zeman. Your quarterback will at least have 12 points if he throws 3 touchdowns. And this week,
That's riveting stuff. Thank you for that.
11.74 points for him this week. I see him hovering around the 12, 13 points per week. So, Dovitz, get yourself a better quarterback, and I'll see you in the championship.
Moving on up, we are at number 6. So this would be in playoffs if the playoffs start after 1 week, which would be a terrible by any standards. Not even an extra nod here to this guy. This is Evan Goldfarb, even though he's the first place in his division. The most impressive thing about Evan is he is away for a family issue, dealing with some hard things there, and still able to manage a team, puts 107 points. I mean, he's going to run out of applause.
Let's do it up for Evan Goldfarb. Well done.
Fantastic job. You got Drew Brees, who put almost 18 against a toppers on the defense. His wide receivers, as he stated last week, are pretty ugly. That'll be a question all year, but the running backs look really good. Jeremy Hill was excellent. DeMarco, even though he didn't run for a lot of yards, he had 2 touchdowns, I believe. And if he keeps getting the ball near goal line, he's going to put a lot of points this year and be exactly what he hoped for in the second round, which he got him. So I think his team looks really good. Obviously, a good start. Drew Brees will improve as he plays teams that aren't as good as Arizona. I like where he's at.
I do too.
As usual.
I do too. Goldfarb's a stud. What can you say? 5th place, we're going to look to the man who we just spoke to one night in TY. What can you ask you this year? What is one night in TY? Like,
they discussed this last week as well.
Sorry.
One night in Paris Hilton.
I get that. It's a sex tape. It's a sex tape.
And then T.Y. Hilton has the same last name, obviously.
Oh, that's probably the time.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
Not technical difficulties. We're recording this in my house, and the downstairs neighbor's dog was barking.
That was discussed last week.
It's that I don't get it. It doesn't. Whatever. Regardless of the fact that it's a terrible team.
It's maybe it's like words with personal.
Okay,
I think it's okay.
Wow. Like we said, Ivory put up 22. Kelsey put up 22. His kicker put up more points than any of our skill positions, including our quarterback. Rogers is a stud, and that's without AP doing anything, right? So it hurts to have Hilton gone, and that's why he's not higher. And his wide receiver 2 did nothing, nor did his flex position.
Also, I don't think Ivory is going to be as good as he was.
I don't think he will either. I don't think Cleveland's that good of a run defense. I don't know who New York plays in week 2, but I see his team being one of the top teams this year, and he had a great draft, so he deserves nothing but credit.
Number 4, in very unfamiliar territory, Jordan Stafford, Brady's empire. Obviously, Tom Brady at the helm, scoring 27.6. I think he's the highest QB this week. And the great thing about him is his wide receivers who were at top of the league, Demarius and AJ Green, did not do that well at all. He still got 104 points. Carlos Hyde, I didn't watch the game last night, or at least the highlights. He looked unbelievable.
He's an absolute stud this year.
Really, really good. And I had a chance to draft him, and I was too afraid to get on me. I'm kind of kicking myself for that, but he looks great. Jimmy Graham, the touchdowns his first week, he might play better. The only downside is that Deshaun Jackson got injured, but I think he has a Gio Bernard, the flex spot, which might not be
not great.
That much of a down.
How did he do this week?
Deshaun
No, Gio.
Gio at 8.8.
Oh, wow.
So I think not good for flex option, especially if other players usually better
than your flex option.
I feel like his chances that and now, especially with Jackson Hurt, depth might be an issue. So on the bye weeks, it might be rough for stock. But besides that, I like his
team.
Wow,
that is shocking. That is absolutely shocking. Jordan, great start to the year for you. Number 3 on our list, Percy whipped Alex Goldfarb. You won this week, and that is something to be proud of. For me, and sort of for Rolls, I think we see this as more of an opportunity for you to get even better. Lynch did not have a great week. Lamar Miller did not have a great week. Jonathan Stewart, did not have a good week. And obviously, most importantly, 31 fantasy quarterbacks scored more than Peyton Manning. Your team is built. It is not lacking, more importantly, in any position. You've got a stud tight end, as Justin discussed, and Eifert. I don't love your defense, but defenses really don't matter that much, to be truthfully honest. That said, Cooper is going to get better than 4.7 points each week as he continues to build that rapport with his quarterback. So I think you're going to be a scary matchup, just as you're a scary matchup on the basketball court, just as you are a scary man in general. So that is our number 3 pick. Justin, who do you want to go? Who do you want? We have 2 teams left.
I'll go next. I want to say in conclusion, David thinks Alex is a scary man.
He is.
Not sure what that means, but number 2 is Kiss Me If You Can, Damon Lowy. Again, you would have been number 1 if your team name has changed in the last 6 years. Up and down your roster is I think incredible. Ben Roethlisberger looked pretty good. He threw for over 300 yards against New England. Your wide receivers, Julio Jones looked amazing. Calvin looked awful, but there's no way he can have 2 catches a game for the whole year. For Taylor, excellent. The only one downside is he's Reggie got hurt for your second running back. But you have Garrett Blunt, who will be back this week. I think he's going to do pretty well there. Unfortunately, you don't have anyone else to play running back except for those 2. so you might have to pick someone out. But besides that, I think your team from head to toe is really, really, really good.
I would agree. I would agree completely. And that of course leaves our number one team, dear friend of the podcast, Daniel Monroe Rodden. Danny, your team scored 101 points this week. That is a shit ton. Yes, that's a mathematical term. More than either of our teams scored this week. It was solid all around. Charles looked like the old Jamal Charles. Phillip Rivers is dinking and dunking his way to 21.96 points. Brandon Cooks is going to do a lot better than 5.3. So a little side note about the number 5.3. I actually believe that's the number of siblings Danny Rodden has. It's unclear, however, because he never talks about his family, and I don't know how many people.
That'd be good over-under.
Over-under. 5.3 siblings for Danny Rodden. It is unclear.
It changes year to year.
It does. So every year, a new 18-year-old human being shows up, and it's somehow related to Danny Rodden.
I think at MSU games, I was saying there's 3 people that all claim to be Danny. I'm not sure if they're all the same one or not.
I don't know. Maybe they're just disguised themselves each week. Regardless, Danny Rodden, 5.3 points for Brandon Cooks. I think you're going to do better. And I think Pierre Garçon does better than 7.4 points per game, too, now with Deshaun Jackson out. You can't rely on 18 from your defense each week. But, again, it comes down to balance. Shady's going to do well. Donnell's involved in the passing game. So, Danny, after week 1, you are looking like the manager who has the most likelihood to repeat.
And if I may add, the most important thing that I think makes you number 1 is the people you don't have in your starting roster right now, which is Gurley, you have Aaron, you have Julius Thomas, all 3 guys who could be studs, absolute studs by the end of the year. So your team is pretty good as is. Other than that, and if you add those 3 guys, it could be real scary for the rest of the league. So I think you're probably in the best shape.
All right, we are through power rankings. We're on to our final segment. That is, of course, matchups. Justin and I will save our matchup until almost the very end. We're going to start with two teams today. Up in smoke, Ian Sherman versus Birds Keepa. Justin, both of these managers are in trouble all year. It continues into week 2. I think the muscle hamster was disappointing after a great preseason. Obviously, we've lost Dez. Luck should bounce back. I just don't think it's enough to overcome Matt Ryan against the bad New York Giants secondary. Alshon's going to look good. St. Louis legitimately might score 50 defensive points against a helpless Redskins secondary. Sherman gets the W, put it on the board.
I disagree pretty heavily. I think St. Louis will not put up 50 defensive points. I'm just throwing a bold prediction out there. I think Ian's running backs are weak. D'Angelo looks like the first week, but he's playing San Fran, who held AP to 30 yards.
Yeah.
Is Jennings, who didn't look that great, hit a touchdown, but it was a goal line score. And I think Alshon is going to have a hard time with Arizona D. On the other side, I think Andrew Luck is going to improve a lot from last week. That is hurt, but I think you have Larry Fitzgerald to plug in for him, who I think he came about 80 yards last year. That's pretty solid. And overall, I like the matchup for Sugarman a little more, and I'm going with him.
All right, well, we disagree. What else is new? Let's go on to the next matchup. Kickers Lives Matter versus Too Many Cooks. Look, I will never pick a Beifel team to succeed at anything that continues into week 2. I don't care that he's favored. Projections mean absolutely nothing. We just finished talking about Danny Rodden on the top of the power rankings. Here's a bold prediction, and I know you're going to disagree with me. I don't see any of Beifel's starters cracking pay dirt. You heard me. Not a single fantasy football touchdown. Pay dirt. The goal line. No one scores a touchdown. Nice. Pay dirt.
Never heard
that expression?
Never heard that term.
Well, Google it. I promise you, my friend, it is a term. Not a single fantasy football touchdown for Beifel in week 2. This is the biggest upset of the week for me. Rodden makes Beifel cry worse than I cried this morning, which is a lot of tears. It is, in fact, my Ian Sherman bike lock of the week. Danny gets le W, which is French, by the way, for the W, and he improves to 2-0.
You know what? Originally, I had Danny circled here, but I'm going to disagree again. Looking at the matches over again, I really do disagree. You said his team will score a touchdown. I think there's a lot of guys who will. Jordan Matthews, he did score a touchdown last week, but they called him out at the 1.
So he didn't score a touchdown.
He crossed the goal line, but he had 10 receptions. Ken Allen had like 16 receptions for a touchdown. Eddie Lacy, I think he'll get a goal line scored in Seattle.
Yeah, I think Seattle's defense is good.
They 34 points against a team that has a worse offense than San Diego or than Green Bay. I think Olsen obviously is going to improve. He had like 1 reception last week. He might get in the end zone. Who knows? So I actually like his squad a lot. Is where Danny, not that his team has bad match. I think Cook's going to have an excellent game against Tampa, who looked like shit this week. I think his team will do well. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, but I think Seth actually gets out of the place and redeems himself.
Wow,
nice victory!
All right, so right now we are not agreeing on 2 picks. That is shocking to absolutely no one listening. Our third of 6 matchups is against Percy Whipped, Alex Goldfarb's squad versus
one of the worst team names in any league
in football history. Percy Whipped versus Kiss Me If You Can, intentionally spelled incorrectly. Justin, I'm going to pass this one to you first.
I'm going to go with Alex here. And I'll explain why. I played him last week, and I was very impressed by his team. Like I said before, he put up 90-something points with Peyton Manning doing awful, with Arshawn not scoring a touchdown, and Lamar Miller having a weak game as well. If Tyler Eifert can get 10 catches a game, or at least targeted a lot like that, his team's going to be scary. I think the X factor for him is Terrence Williams. With Dez out, I think he'll get targeted a lot more. He might score a touchdown or 2, who knows. But I like him. Peyton Manning will have a bounce back week. Not saying he'll be excellent, but he'll definitely improve from his abysmal performance. On the other hand, Daniel Lowy, I said I like his team a lot, but Forte against Arizona might be a tough matchup, and Ben Roethlisberger against San Francisco might be tough as well. I'm going to go Alex, go 2-0, and be atop this league.
Yeah, you are again completely wrong, and that is you're simply violently wrong. I think Lowy earns a tough one here. I think Peyton does find his way for Alex. I think Lamar Miller eats Jacksonville for lunch, but Julio's out for blood this year. I think Calvin gets more than 4 targets or whatever he got. Forte, who I love, obviously, was going to bless Julio.
He had like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I said Julio's out for blood. Calvin's going to have more than 4 targets. It's okay. Forte is going to continue to do rock star stuff. Reggie Bush clearly won't start, but let's just have a brief minute for Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush, I know, I'm just saying, Reggie Bush is not a viable fantasy football player, and I'm gonna pose a hypothetical to you. Okay, ready?
Yes.
It's 4th and goal on the 1. It's the Super Bowl. Would you rather trust Reggie Bush with the ball to get 12 inches, or would you give the ball to Scott Gordon?
Reggie Bush obviously has a history of playing in the league. He played for USC. Scott Gordon never played football in his life.
If we gave Scott Gordon 6 minutes to find the best path into the end zone, to find some fullback or someone who can block for him, he would figure out a way to score more fantasy football points than Reggie Bush.
In that scenario, I agree, but unfortunately, in NFL play, it takes much less than 6 minutes.
That is, in fact, correct. We will go on to our 4th of 6 matchups. One night in Paris Hilton versus Corn on the Cob. Look, I don't see Klein having that good of a week again, but it's going to be better than Jason's week. Big loss for Dozier with Ellington, Walker, and Brown. I don't really see them as reliable fantasy studs. I personally talked about Tannehill being touchdown dependent, rushing yards dependent. I think they're going to get up against Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to be throwing the ball that much. On the other side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers for Aaron Klein. He's going to struggle a little bit against Seattle, but I think Kelsey, Peterson, Ivory are going to carry him to week 2 victory. So Aaron Klein, little AK for the W.
I, believe it or not, actually agree with you.
Whoa!
I have Aaron Klein to win this one as well. Going to start with Jason Dovis first, though. I don't think Ellington being out is going to hurt him too much. I actually think it's a blessing in disguise, as he will plug in Amir Abdullah, who looked unreal. He only had about 8 touches or something, a little more. But I think he took huge advantage of all of those. He looked great. His wide receivers have some hard matchups: Antonio Brown against San Francisco and Cobb against Seattle. So they might be a struggle. That's probably what made it different for me. For Aaron Klein, I think Adrian Peterson bounces back when he has to. Aaron Rodgers will play well if St. Luca can put up 34 in Seattle. What's Aaron Rodgers about to do? So I think Aaron Klein takes it here.
We're going to do a bonus segment of Call the Manager and try to get Jason Dovitz on the phone to see if he is willing to provide his predictions for the week. I let Jason know we would be trying him today, so his show is ending at 8 o'clock. Let's see if 8 o'clock Eastern.
And I'm showing you in and out now. 6 p.m. Tuesday.
Until
and then it's 6 p.m. yesterday.
That'll be answered.
If he's not answered, this will be a room segment. And we'll have wasted your time.
We have literally wasted
Your competition.
28 seconds of your life, Jason Dovitz.
That's great at the beginning.
Shame to you. All right, well, we're going to move on to a matchup that is near and dear to our hearts. Justin, it's a grudge match of people who somewhat like each other, me versus you. No surprise here. I think that I murder you. I think Andre gets an uptick in production without T.Y. I don't trust Randall. I don't trust Yeldon. I hope Trey Mason doesn't play. OBJ could be a huge bust. Look, so could C.J. Anderson. There's obviously some personal bias involved. I think Ingram and Sanders get it on track. I see the Seahawks game as a high-scoring one. I think Russell and Crosby get theirs. Miami versus the Jacksonville defense is tasty. Put it on the board. Zorro gets the W today.
Clearly, I disagree. I haven't really looked at the matchup yet. I'm kidding. I was watching all day at work. I am going to pick myself. Looking at your team first, David. The one that stands out is Alfred Morris against Rams D, who held Marshawn Lynch to like 60 yards or a little more than that. Alfred is not even close to the guy that Marshawn Lynch is. I am afraid of Mark Ingram against the Tampa defense. He looks atrocious. He might tear it up. Besides that, I think Anderson is a tough match against Kansas City. And I'm just not sure if you have enough. On my side, there's no way Odell does as bad as he did. Andre, without Hilton there, has to improve. I'm hoping Trey makes some plays, as David oppositely alluded to. That's a new word I just made. Gronk will obviously have 3 touchdowns.
That's a given.
And I think Sam Bradford as well. Surprise! We're going to get a call back from Jason Dovitz.
We're going to get a surprise call from Jason Dovitz. Jason Dovitz, welcome to the Stafford of the USA Fantasy Football Podcast.
Hello. Hold on.
You have me, David, and you also have another manager in the room. Say hello, manager.
Hello, Jason.
Hello. What is going on?
We just finished your matchup, but we would love against. I think you're playing Klein. You're playing Lowy. Who's playing this week?
Playing Lowy.
No, he's playing Klein this week. You're playing Klein this week.
Playing Lowy.
Can you hear me, buddy?
He's playing Klein.
Can you hear me, David? All right, we're good now. We just finished going over matchups. You are playing Klein this week. You are projected to lose by 9 points. We all know that means absolutely nothing. You don't have Andre Ellington, and you have him in the lineup. He's clearly not playing. Jason Dovitz, tell us what happens this week.
This week was a rough one. I was so pumped. It was football. I was facing Lowy's team, who was starting Reggie Bush. I thought for sure victory for me. I saw Lowy. He was in town in California. He was with a lady he's been getting with.
Whoa.
Football with him while he was in California.
What do you think of the change?
Okay, all the bad karma for Lowy. I'm going to dominate this week.
All right. I love it. If you are playing Klein this week, and we had Klein as a guest on the show earlier. If you had one message for Aaron Klein this week, what would it be?
He's fucked,
because I have. Are we allowed to say swears?
No,
Justin,
well, that is
let's check our sound team behind the board. Yes, you are allowed to say the word fuck.
Shoot. Well, I hope he gets the message because I kind of have a secret weapon. I know there's games Thursday and there's games Monday, but the majority of the games are on Sunday, and Sunday's my birthday, and I don't do my birthday.
Wow, dude. Well, happy early birthday. We did not know that, and neither of us would have really cared if we did. But that's very, very happy news. I don't think either of us picked you to win. But that said, stranger things have happened.
Last week, both Ron and Matt picked me to win. We see how well that worked out for me. And Klein's got a good team. He's a smart guy. I believe he was the pick before me in the draft. So he took a couple of my guys, and I took a couple of his. So we were talking.
I don't think so.
But he's gonna lose.
I don't think before he picked Adrian Peterson, and your fifth round was Antonio Brown. So unless he had like a fourth or fifth, but I think 18 was maybe. Maybe. I have a question. How do you feel about Amir Abdullah?
I mean, I love him. That was probably the highlight of the Lions game. The game sucked. The second half was terrible, but Amir looked good. I mean, he's fast. The moves. They can't really tackle him. They got to use him more because he's a weapon.
You're sitting on the West Coast, loving life out in Fox Sports. You get to hang out with the insiders. Jason, who's a hot name on the waiver wire this week that you think is going to be a valuable fantasy addition?
I mean, I don't know what. Well, I guess I can say because no one's probably going to hear this until tomorrow.
If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to, but you are live.
But I haven't looked yet. I'm planning on doing that tonight. Do you guys know if anyone has David Johnson?
So, are you using inside information? Is this something we should report to a legal authority?
Yeah.
No, I don't have any inside information. I'm more of an MLB guy, so I don't really know the NFL.
I believe you just said almost word for word that you're using something that won't be out till tomorrow.
No, he means the podcast.
No. I'm saying, I don't know if anyone has him in our league, David Johnson.
I don't know, but that certainly is a popular name on the waiver wire this week. If he is indeed available, best of luck going to find him, and I hope he carries you to a week 2 victory.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's just really an honor to be on this podcast with you guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, and the honor is all ours.
Please, we're the lucky ones today, Jason. You enjoy the rest of your night, and hope we get a chance to see you in the great state of Michigan sometime soon.
I will be back for over Thanksgiving for like 11 days, which will be amazing. And I can't believe I forgot to say this so far, but Zeman, congratulations. Very happy for you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. That day, or that evening, I got the big Z text from you. So that was nice, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Of course. Well, good luck to you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. See ya.
See you, David.
Bye. What guy? Don't you love it?
That was a good match. So I believe we were in the middle of our matchup.
I think unless you have any more nonsense to spew, we're probably done.
No, I think I was going to conclude and say that I'm going to win.
Okay. Have we disagreed? I think we've only agreed on one.
Correct.
So now we are at our final matchup of the day. It is our Quiznos sub matchup of the week.
Thank you, Quiznos. Go down to your
fantasy. Quiznos loves fantasy football, and so do these two managers. King of the Hill, Evan Russell Wilson Goldfarb versus Brady's Empire, Jordan Stav. In the Quiznos sub matchup of the week, Justin, what happens between these two foes?
Well, I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair in here. They are both in town. Hopefully, they'll be watching the games together. That will be fun. And this one, to me, comes down to a couple of key players. For Evan, the wide receivers are just not doing it for me. Devontae Adams was a little disappointing last week. And now goes against a tougher defense in Seattle. I think Drew Brees is going to go off against Tampa. DeMarco is going to be interesting playing against the Cowboys, his old team. That's going to be interesting, but I don't think it will be enough for the soon-to-be 2-0 first place. He won his game last week without Demaryius or AJ doing a whole lot. I think they're going to bounce back and do a lot more this week. Carlos Hyde, as I said, looked unreal. Jimmy Graham should get some more looks as well. And Tom Brady is going to continue his assault on the NFL.
Yeah, I can't believe it, but I actually agree with you. I mean, I think the Tom Brady murder spree continues this week for Jordan. I think Adams struggles against the Seattle secondary. They'll probably put what's his name, dude? Corner for Seattle.
Richard
They'll
Sherman.
probably Richard Sherman on him. Latavius doesn't get any running room against an amazing Ravens front seven who shut down my leader, CJ Anderson, last week. Stop. Look, Marius gets back on track. Carlos Hyde hit the B button last night, did his cool spin move to score his first touchdown. He looks like a solid running back one. We'll see how well he does against Pittsburgh. Stop, buddy. 2-0. You are going to be on top of the fantasy football league, and I am shocked.
Well, barring injury, because we're kind of hyping him up, he's off to a good start. The only thing that is most likely to happen is a huge injury, probably Tom Brady, maybe Carlos Hyde after his great performance. I'm looking for a year-ending injury for one of your top players.
Nothing like rooting for a top player.
You're not rooting it. It's just it's sort of it's just an inevitable thing that's been happening. I think every year has been happening. So.
All right, friends, that ends our fantasy football podcast for the night. We have covered subjects good, bad, medium, fair. If you have any comments, please send your feedback in the group chat. For Justin, Benjamin, Moore, Cowbell, Wolnitsky, and for myself, David Zeman, thank you so much for listening. We will see you guys next week, and by we mean someone else doing this job for us.
And good luck to all.
Take it easy. Bye.